The shattering truth when trust becomes a weapon. Listen up, gentlemen. Look me in the eye. Now remember that moment. The moment they looked you in the eye, flashed a smile you once trusted absolutely, and then they stabbed you in the back. Not just once, not a fleeting mistake, but repeatedly. They twisted the blade in your most vulnerable spots, into every fibre of your trust, directly into your heart. You placed your complete faith in them. You handed them the keys to your inner world, believing they would safeguard it. And then they turned that world into a battlefield, a chaotic hellscape of shattered pieces and the echoing silence of doubt. The time is now. It's time we rip open the veil, expose the raw, chilling truth about betrayal. You poured out your sweat, your tears, and even your blood. You gave everything, your most precious time, your unwavering, unconditional loyalty, and your raw, vulnerable heart. And in return, they gifted you venomous lies, dismissive silence, or worse, a chilling, soul-crushing indifference. Betrayal doesn't always roar like thunder. It doesn't always come with a massive explosion, a devastating crash. Sometimes it insidiously creeps into your life, disguised as a deceptively gentle smile, a fake pat on the back, or a slow, calculated withdrawal so subtle you don't realise you're being stripped. Bare piece by piece, you know that feeling, don't you? That gut-wrenching sensation when you walk into a room and suddenly the air grows thick. You feel smaller, not because you've shrunk, but because someone you trusted has shifted the very ground beneath you, leaving you without footing, without a centre. This isn't just about being hurt. This is about being broken, utterly crushed by the very individuals you never, not for a single second, imagined would inflict this pain. And the most crucial thing, the deciding factor, is what you will do after everything shatters. Today, we sugarcoat nothing. There is no room for weakness or empty platitudes. Today, we confront. You are not alone in this fight. Millions of men carry the invisible weight of unspoken betrayals, the hidden scars deep within their souls. But most of them never have the guts to do what you're about to do. Face it head on, dissect it piece by excruciating piece, and rise above it, stronger than you ever thought possible. Betrayal isn't merely an act, it is a revelation, a brutal yet necessary revelation. It exposes the true nature of those around us, stripping away their masks and challenging the very foundation of our understanding of trust. In this speech, we will not shy away from delving deep into the three most unforgivable betrayals in relationships guided by the timeless wisdom of Stoic philosophy. Comment right now, declare it to the world, I choose truth over betrayal. Meet ilotilditen ipritipota. Let it be your declaration, your unwavering commitment to yourself. Every man at some point in his life has sat alone in the darkness staring into the past, wondering why the people he gave the most, to who he poured everything into, were the first to abandon him. Or worse, were the ones who twisted the knife deeper into his wound. You were loyal to a fault. You showed up no matter what they needed. You sacrificed without hesitation. Yet the coldest, deepest wounds often come from the hands that once offered the most warmth. The pain you're feeling. Do not mistake it for weakness. That is not fragility. That is the shockwave of a man who expected honour, who expected integrity, but instead received dirty games and deceptive charades. Stoicism teaches us that peace is not a gift bestowed upon you. It is built, brick by brick, difficult decision by difficult decision. And today, with every brick, every effort, you will rebuild your foundation stronger, sharper, unshakable. Because this world doesn't need more passive men, more easy targets. It needs men who see clearly, act decisively, and refuse to tolerate betrayal, no matter how beautifully disguised it may be. If you have ever felt used, lied to, or emotionally drained to the point of exhaustion, this speech is your mirror and your roadmap to liberation. And by the end, you will not only understand betrayal, you will know exactly how to rise above it, transforming pain into unyielding power. 1. Disloyalty. There is a moment etched into every man's mind, not just a betrayal, but the lightning-fast instant when he witnessed someone he trusted implicitly choose themselves, choose their personal gain, utterly disregarding his expense. And if you've lived long enough, you've felt that bone-chilling shift in the room, a deafening silence that speaks more volumes than any words could ever convey. And in that moment, something inside you changes permanently. Not in a loud, angry burst, but like a quiet, grim understanding that the version of you who believed in people without proof that version has ceased to exist. And if no one has told you this yet, here is the raw, unvarnished truth. Disloyalty is not an accident. It is not a misunderstanding. It is a decision made with full awareness, with cold, calculated intent. And if you don't develop the discipline to see it for what it truly is, it will continue to sabotage your peace, demolish your confidence, erode your masculinity, and steal your future. The psychology of the betrayed. When confronted with disloyalty, a man typically undergoes an extreme psychological shock. Initially, there's shock and disbelief. Your brain grapples with a reality that utterly contradicts a long-held belief. How could they do that? I trusted them so much. This is often followed by denial, an attempt to find any explanation, any excuse for their actions. You might question whether you misunderstood or if you're overreacting. Then comes self-doubt. This is one of the deepest wounds disloyalty inflicts. You begin to question your own judgment. How foolish was I to trust them? Did I miss all the signs? Am I somehow responsible for their disloyalty? This psychological state can lead to self-depreciation, eroding your self-esteem and inherent confidence. The feeling of being betrayed by a close individual can leave you feeling isolated, lost, and even shamefully exploited. The world you perceived as stable suddenly feels treacherous and unpredictable. The psychology of the disloyal, conversely. The psychology of the disloyal is often complex and multifaceted, rarely a simple evil villain caricature. It frequently stems from deeper factors such as fear and insecurity. Some individuals are disloyal because they are deeply insecure within themselves. They might fear deep attachment, fear being vulnerable, or fear not being good enough. Disloyalty can serve as a defense mechanism, a way to maintain emotional distance, or create potential escape routes should things go wrong. Opportunism and self-interest. Others act purely out of opportunism. They identify a situation where they can gain personal benefit, be it power status or comfort, and are willing to sacrifice another's loyalty to achieve it. They often lack empathy and genuinely fail to comprehend the depth of hurt their actions inflict. Lack of morality and integrity. For a select few, disloyalty is simply a manifestation of lacking a strong moral compass. They may not value loyalty or promises, viewing manipulation or exploitation of others as merely part of the game of life. Their internal compass is broken or perhaps never existed, underlying dissatisfaction or resentment. Sometimes, disloyalty can be an expression of deep-seated dissatisfaction or accumulated resentment within a relationship. However, instead of confronting and resolving issues directly, they choose a clandestine path, causing immense damage. External pressure or influence. In some cases, external pressures such as expectations from family, friends, or a competitive environment can push an individual to make disloyal decisions to protect themselves or achieve goals even if it compromises their integrity. It's crucial to recognise that many disloyal individuals will self-justify their behaviour. They might blame circumstances, blame you, or even genuinely convince themselves that their actions were necessary or for the greater good. They often minimise the severity of their actions or employ defence mechanisms like rationalisation to protect their self-image and avoid internal guilt. They become masters of rewriting history in their own minds. Because what most men are never taught is this loyalty from others only comes after you build unshakable loyalty to yourself. And if you're letting people stay in your life who switch sides the moment you're not winning, or who speak differently about you when you're not in the room, you're not just tolerating disrespect. You're telling your own soul that it doesn't matter, and there is no coming back from that until you make the decisive, non-negotiable choice to permanently raise your standards, not as an act of revenge, not to prove a point, but because you have finally unequivocally realised that the cost of keeping unworthy people close is far, far greater than the temporary solitude of walking alone for a while. Rising above disloyalty, decisive action. If you're the kind of man who thinks cutting people off is harsh, then consider this. What's more brutal? Hurting someone's feelings by removing them from your life, or living a life where you constantly have to question if your inner circle is truly for you. Because the truth is, if they genuinely loved you, you would never ever have to wonder. And loyalty isn't just about sticking around. It's about being for them in all conditions, especially when they are no longer useful to you, especially when they've messed up, especially when there's absolutely nothing to gain from sticking around. And if you're the only one being loyal in your relationships, then that's not loyalty. That's self-abandonment disguised as love, a toxic masquerade. No man can be fully present in his purpose, fully aligned with his destiny, while being surrounded by individuals who secretly resent him, compete with him, or only appear when they need something from him. So you must conduct an energy audit when you share good news. If the people closest to you cannot genuinely celebrate your success, if their smile doesn't reach their eyes, then you have already outgrown them. It's a painful truth, but a liberating one. And this isn't about becoming cold or paranoid. It's about becoming wise. If you're not yet the kind of man who notices the subtle cues, the shift in their voice when you succeed, the way they vanish when you struggle, the way your name only comes up when you're not around, then start paying attention. Because the best defense against betrayal is to observe before you attach. And the very first time someone shows you that they are not for you, you do not need a second chance to confirm it. That doesn't mean you become rude or hostile. It means you adjust their access. It means you stop explaining your boundaries, because boundaries are for those who respect them, not for those who continuously violate them. It means you stop trying to rescue individuals who repeatedly throw themselves into the same fire, then blame you for not pulling them out. Their chaos is not your responsibility. If that sounds cold to you, it's only because you've been conditioned to feel guilty for finally choosing yourself. But the absolute truth is loyalty without boundaries isn't loyalty, it's enslavement. And the moment you wake up to that stark reality, your entire life will transform. Because suddenly you no longer crave external validation, you stop begging to be understood, and you begin to attract people who already get it, who don't need to be convinced of your worth, who don't need reminders to show up, who don't flinch when you're at your absolute lowest. These are your true allies. If you're wondering where to begin this formidable journey, start right here. Take inventory. Look at your life like a business. Who is pouring value into it? Who is consistently withdrawing without contributing? Who is loyal to your face, but not in your absence? Who benefits from your victories, but never supports the arduous process? Who smiles at your strength, but mocks your struggles? And once you've identified them, you don't need to create a scene. Just make a strategic shift. And yes, it will be uncomfortable at first. Yes, it will feel lonely. But that loneliness is a temporary purging fire. And the profound peace that follows is permanent. If you seek to become unshakable, you must train yourself to stop reacting to betrayal emotionally and start responding to it strategically. Because loyalty is tested most profoundly in silence. And if you desire loyal people in your life, then first become an unshakably loyal man to your principles, to your time, to your standards, and most critically, to your inner peace. If you have been betrayed before, remember this hard-earned lesson. It was not your fault for trusting, but it is absolutely your responsibility not to repeat the same mistake twice. And if you wish to remain calm and controlled during the next confrontation, and trust me, there will be another, you need to stop expecting people to match the generosity of your heart and instead begin preparing for the day they will not. And the way you do that is simple but far from easy. You stop reacting to words. You start watching behaviour. You lean back, observe, and allow people to fully reveal themselves. You remain silent when disrespected and make moves instead. You look them in the eyes, not with hatred, but with the calm, unwavering confidence of a man who doesn't need closure because he already has absolute clarity. And that clarity emerges from a life of rigorous discipline, a life where your word means something, where your loyalty is earned, not freely given, where your inner circle is meticulously built, not inherited through circumstance. And if you ever feel tempted to confront someone who betrayed you just to get your point across, ask yourself this brutal question: what do I truly gain by explaining myself to someone who has already decided I wasn't worth their loyalty? Because the truth is, explanation is for those who intend to stay and rebuild. Clarity is for those who intend to go and thrive. And if someone has already shown you exactly where they stand, believe them the first time and keep moving forward, not because you are weak, but because you have finally realised that peace is louder than drama. And if you want that profound peace, you need to decisively kill the part of you that keeps giving passes to people who wouldn't hesitate to leave you behind in a heartbeat. And if you seek to develop true emotional strength, begin by staying silent when provoked, by demonstrating restraint, when insulted by making powerful moves, when doubted, and by retaining your power when they fully expect you to lose it. Because disloyal people don't just betray your trust, they actively feed off your reaction. They thrive on your emotional distress. And the most painful realization you'll ever have is that not everyone who hurt you regrets it. Some are watching, waiting to see if you will still come crawling back. and you cannot give them that satisfaction. Not if you intend to build a life where your energy is sacred, where your focus is fiercely protected, and where your loyalty is reserved only for those who have unequivocally proven they deserve it. And if you're asking where to start this transformation, begin by writing down in explicit detail what loyalty means to you. Then live by it every single day, and most importantly, demand it in return. 2. Deception. There's a kind of betrayal that doesn't stab you in the back all at once in one fell swoop. Instead, it cuts you slowly, deliberately, with a deceptive smile. It's not the blow that hits hardest, it's the one you never saw coming, the one delivered while they looked you straight in the eyes, their gaze unwavering. And deception is precisely that, not a single isolated lie, not just cheating or a broken promise, but a pattern of manipulation meticulously crafted and carefully wrapped in the guise of good intentions. The psychology of the deceived. When a man is subjected to deception, his worldview is fundamentally shaken. The primary impact is a profound sense of disorientation and confusion. He starts questioning his own reality, his perceptions, and even his memories. Was that real, or did I imagine it? This is exacerbated by the deceiver's tactics, which often involve gaslighting, making the victim doubt their sanity or judgment. The victim might replay conversations, endlessly scrutinizing every word, every nuance, trying to piece together a truth that is intentionally obfuscated. This constant mental strain leads to a severe erosion of trust, not just in others, but in himself. He might become hypervigilant, constantly searching for hidden meanings, or conversely retreat into a state of emotional numbness to protect himself from further hurt. The feeling of foolishness or naivete is common, leading to diminished self-worth. There's often a lingering sense of violation, as if his intelligence and intuition have been mocked and disrespected. The psychological toll can manifest as anxiety, paranoia, and a deep cynicism that poisons future relationships. The psychology of the deceiver. The deceiver's mind is often a complex web of motivations, frequently rooted in a desperate need for control, avoidance of accountability, or a distorted view of truth. Need for control and power. Deceivers often use lies as a tool to control narratives, manipulate outcomes, and maintain power over others. They believe that by controlling information, they can control people and situations to their advantage. Fear of consequences and accountability. A significant driver for deception is the profound fear of facing negative consequences, shame, or judgment. Instead of accepting responsibility, they weave intricate webs of lies to evade blame or punishment. They may believe their true self is unacceptable, thus necessitating a fabricated persona. Narcissism and grandiosity. For narcissistic individuals, deception serves to maintain a grandiose self-image. They believe they are above conventional rules of honesty and are entitled to achieve their desires by any means necessary. They often lack genuine empathy and view others as mere pawns in their personal game. Lack of empathy and moral disengagement. Many deceivers struggle with genuine empathy. They may cognitively understand that their actions cause hurt, but they can detach emotionally, rationalizing their behavior or minimizing the impact on others. This moral disengagement allows them to continue deceiving without feeling profound guilt. Habitual behavior and compulsion. For some, lying can become a deeply ingrained habit, almost compulsive. They may have learned early in life that deception is an effective survival mechanism, and it has become their default mode of operation even when truth would suffice. Maintaining an image. Deception is often employed to maintain a certain image or fad, whether it's appearing successful, innocent, or virtuous. The fear of having this carefully constructed image shattered drives them to extreme lengths to conceal the truth. Deceivers are often master manipulators of perception. They are adept at reading others' vulnerabilities and exploiting them. They create a parallel reality where their lies are presented as truth and your doubts are framed as flaws in your character. This is why confronting a deceiver can feel like stepping into a psychological labyrinth. And if you're a man who's ever been lied to by someone you trusted, be it a partner, a friend, a family member, you know the pain doesn't come from the lie itself. The real agony stems from the gut-wrenching realization that someone saw your trust not as a sacred bond, but as a mere tool, even a weapon to get what they wanted, and they didn't think twice about using it against you. It's that horrifying moment you realise she didn't just hide something from you. She meticulously studied your blind spots. She expertly used your love to shield her secrets. She fed you half-truths and emotional detours to keep you distracted off balance while she did the very thing you feared most. Whether that was texting someone else behind your back, whispering venomous things about you to others she'd never dare say to your face, or meticulously building a secret world where you simply didn't exist. And while society might try to tell you to forgive, to move on, to understand their perspective, what they will strategically omit is that deception rewires your entire sense of reality. It warps your perception of truth, of safety, of certainty. And if you don't confront that deep-seated damage and deliberately, rigorously rebuild your internal compass, you will start to question your own perception of truth, your own sanity. And that, my brother, is how you lose yourself. That's how you become a ghost in your own life, when you start second-guessing what you saw, what you heard, what you felt, because someone was skilled enough to lie without flinching, to perform a flawless act of psychological warfare. And the biggest, most catastrophic mistake a man makes after being deceived is assuming that true closure means getting the full, unadulterated truth from the liar. But sometimes the devastating truth was already thumping in your gut the very first time you felt that unsettling prickle of doubt, and you just needed the courage to listen to it, to honour your own intuition. And the only way to truly break free from the psychological grip of a liar is to stop giving them the benefit of the doubt once their actions have already unequivocally proven the truth of their deceit. Because the most dangerous liar isn't the one who tells grandiose, easily detectable lies. It's the one who tells just enough truth to keep you perpetually confused. The one who gaslights your memory with insidious phrases like, "You're overreacting," or "I didn't mean it like that." The one who makes you feel guilty for even daring to ask questions, while masterfully hiding behind a mask of fake transparency and manufactured innocence. And you know the kind. The friend who laughs with you, claps you on the back, while simultaneously planting seeds of doubt and poison in the minds of others about you. The woman who smiles angelically during dinner, holding your hand, while texting someone else good night under the table. The family member who hugs you in public, proclaiming their love but calls you a miserable failure the moment you're out of earshot. And if you're not paying attention with every fibre of your being, these people can convince you that silence is peace and confusion is clarity. And that, my friend, is where your power disappears when you start doubting yourself because someone keeps moving the truth just out of your grasp, constantly shifting the goalposts. So if you want to escape the suffocating trap of deception, the first non-negotiable step is this: believe patterns, not words. Because words are the easiest, cheapest part of a lie. Words can be manufactured, manipulated, delivered with charming conviction. But patterns don't lie. Patterns reveal the undeniable truth of a person's character and intent over time. And when someone shows you a consistent habit of inconsistency, secrecy, blurred stories, or selective memory, that is your undeniable signal. And no, you don't need to catch them red-handed, or meticulously collect screenshots, or exhaust yourself interrogating their friends, begging for confirmation. Because by the time you're doing all that, you've already sacrificed your peace, surrendered your energy, and granted them far too much power over your mental state. A man rooted in unyielding strength doesn't chase lies, doesn't play detective. He removes liars, not with aggression, not with angry confrontation, but with profound indifference, with quiet, unshakable clarity. He simply stops engaging with the false reality they try to impose. And this doesn't mean you shut yourself off from everyone or become emotionally unavailable, building impenetrable walls. It means you learn to guard your inner circle like it's your very life, because quite frankly it is. Your mental and emotional well-being depends on it. And if you've ever been in a relationship where the other person always had just enough explanation, just enough plausible deniability to stay out of outright guilt, but never enough genuine honesty to build real, unshakable trust, then you know how soul-draining, how utterly exhausting that becomes. And it's not just emotional damage, it's a form of mental paralysis. You spend hours replaying conversations, dissecting every word, desperately trying to piece together what was real and what was not. And this obsessive need to understand the liar is precisely what keeps you stuck, trapped in their web. Because the brutal truth is, you will never understand why someone lied to you unless you genuinely share their warped values. And if you're a man who unequivocally values loyalty, consistency and truth, you will always be perpetually confused by someone who sees honesty as optional, a mere inconvenience, and deception as a primary survival tactic. So stop trying to figure them out and instead start figuring out your next move. And here's precisely how you do that. First, set an unbreakable rule for yourself. When someone lies to you about something small, assume they are unequivocally capable of lying about something big. Not because you're paranoid, but because self-respect, true unyielding self-respect, demands that you do not reward dishonesty with continued access to your life, your energy, or your trust. Second, learn to recognize covert deception. Not all lies are spoken words. Some are in the deliberately withheld information, the expertly redirected questions, the sudden excessive over-explaining, the glaring timeline, inconsistencies, the subtle emotional guilt trips designed to make you feel bad for their actions, and the constant need for validation when you ask simple, legitimate questions. If you are ever made to feel like the bad guy for seeking clarity, for simply wanting the truth, understand this: that's not love. That's a masterclass in manipulation. And third, build an unyielding mindset where peace is your absolute baseline, where no matter how attractive someone is, how long the shared history, or how much potential they claim to have, you never ever compromise truth for comfort, because the ultimate cost of that false comfort is always clarity. And the man who lives without clarity, who lives in a perpetual fog of lies, is always one step away from losing everything. His goals, his discipline, his emotional edge, and ultimately his sanity. If you've been there, you know how incredibly easy it is to fall into the insidious trap of giving one more chance and then just one more. And before you know it, you're tolerating things you once swore you'd never accept. Not because you're weak, but because deception operates slowly, subtly, and with cold calculation. And the longer you stay, the more it incrementally rewrites your boundaries until you completely forget what real love, real loyalty, and genuine peace even feel like. So if you're reading this right now and an image of someone who has repeatedly lied to you flashes in your mind, ask yourself these crucial questions. Why do I keep allowing them access to my life? What am I truly afraid to lose? And is that fear, that fleeting discomfort, bigger than the profound soul-crushing damage they are doing to my spirit, to my very essence? And if the answer deep down in your gut is a resounding no, then you already know precisely what you need to do. And when you finally courageously walk away from a liar, understand that they will try to rewrite the story, to paint you as cold, unforgiving, heartless. They'll claim you changed, that you're not the same person, but let them talk. Let their lies echo in the empty spaces they now occupy. Because those who thrive on deceit cannot survive, cannot breathe in environments of unvarnished truth. And the more honest you become about what you saw, what you felt, and what you will absolutely no longer tolerate, the more you will automatically attract people who have absolutely nothing to hide and everything to build with you. And if you genuinely want to heal from the deep wounds of deception, don't just cut them off externally. You must cut off the version of you that tolerated it, the part of you that desperately wanted to believe the manufactured story, even when the cold hard facts didn't align. And in its place build a new, unshakable man. A man who doesn't need constant reassurance, who doesn't depend on fragile words, who meticulously watches actions, who creates an unbreachable space between stimulus and response, who walks away decisively when his peace is violated, not because he's angry, but because he knows his peace is far too expensive to trade for cheap manipulative lies. And if you've ever wondered how to definitively tell if someone is deceiving you, pay close attention to what they do when they think you're not paying attention, when their guard is down. Because that, my friend, is who they truly are. And you owe it to yourself, to your very soul, to believe what you see, not just what you're told. Because the man who sees the deception but still stays becomes a willing partner in his own betrayal. And the world doesn't feel sorry for that man. It uses him, drains him dry, and then brutally replaces him. So do not be that man. Be the one who courageously walks in truth, even when it's profoundly uncomfortable. Who trusts his gut, his inner knowing, even when it doesn't come with tangible proof. And who makes the conscious, unyielding choice to build a life where honesty isn't requested, it's required. It's the absolute foundation. 3. Emotional manipulation. There's a betrayal that doesn't manifest as an outright lie or a clear physical action. It's far more insidious. It shows up in tone, in calculated silence, in strategically deployed tears, and in carefully timed guilt trips. And it doesn't hurt you in one cataclysmic moment. It drains you slowly, relentlessly, over weeks, months, sometimes even years, until you wake up one day and realise you've been loving someone who has been subtly, expertly training you to doubt yourself, all while smiling sweetly at you from across the room. The psychology of the manipulated. The man caught in the web of emotional manipulation suffers a unique and deeply insidious form of psychological harm. His core sense of self-trust is systematically dismantled. He begins to question his own feelings, memories and instincts. The manipulator's constant gaslighting and blame shifting lead to chronic self-doubt, making him believe his emotions are the problem, not the toxic dynamic. This confusion is mentally exhausting, creating a constant state of anxiety and hypervigilance. He often develops learned helplessness, feeling powerless to change the situation. His boundaries are constantly eroded, leading to a sense of invasion and disrespect. He might apologise excessively just to keep the peace, internalising blame that is not his. This constant invalidation can lead to depression, a feeling of worthlessness, and a profound sense of isolation as he struggles to articulate his pain to others who may not understand the covert nature of his abuse. He becomes a shadow of his former self, constantly walking on eggshells. The psychology of the manipulator. Emotional manipulators are often driven by a deeply ingrained need for control and a profound fear of losing it. Their actions, while damaging, frequently stem from their own insecurities and unresolved traumas. Need for control and power. At the heart of manipulation is the desire for control. They believe that by controlling others' emotions and perceptions, they can protect themselves, maintain power, and get their needs met. This often stems from a feeling of powerlessness in their own past. Fear of abandonment, rejection. Paradoxically, some manipulators use their tactics out of a deep-seated fear of abandonment. They believe that if they are truly themselves, they will be rejected, so they manipulate others to stay close even if the connection is unhealthy. Lack of emotional regulation and accountability. Many manipulators struggle to process or express their own emotions healthily. Instead of taking responsibility for their feelings or actions, they project them onto others or use manipulation to avoid uncomfortable truths. They often lack genuine self-awareness regarding their manipulative patterns. Victim mentality. A common trait is a pervasive victim mentality. They genuinely believe they are always the wronged party, and their manipulative actions are simply a necessary defense or reaction to external injustices. This allows them to avoid guilt and justify their behaviour. Insecurity and low self-esteem, often hidden beneath a facade of confidence, many manipulators harbour deep insecurities. They may seek validation and affirmation by controlling others, believing that if someone else is broken or dependent, it elevates their own status. Learned behaviour. For some, manipulation is a learned behaviour, possibly from their childhood environment, where they witnessed or experienced similar tactics. They may genuinely not know healthier ways to interact or get their needs met. Manipulators are often masters of perception management and emotional leverage. They meticulously learn your insecurities, study your responses, and begin to push buttons they know will trigger confusion, guilt, and shame. Not necessarily to destroy you, but to control you, to create a manufactured reality where they are perpetually the victim and you are constantly on trial, always apologising just to keep the peace, perpetually walking on eggshells in your own life, just to avoid the next emotional trap. And if you've been there, you know precisely what it's like to say sorry for things you didn't do, to justify boundaries that shouldn't need explaining, to stay silent, desperately trying to avoid another hour-long circular conversation where absolutely nothing gets resolved and everything gets twisted beyond recognition. And this is not love. This is psychological warfare disguised as affection, a form of control so covert, so insidious, that you begin to feel profoundly guilty for even thinking something might be wrong. And the worst, most soul-crushing part is how utterly normalized it becomes, how slowly, incrementally you begin to shrink. You accept their convoluted definitions of your motives, their twisted versions of events, their warped reinterpretations of your past behaviour. And if you don't stop it early, decisively, you will eventually lose the ability to trust your own emotions, your own memories, your own innate moral compass. You become an empty shell, a marionette on their strings. If you're wondering what this looks like in the harsh light of real-life picture, you're dating someone who constantly compares you to their ex, making you feel like you're perpetually falling short, never doing enough. Someone who shuts down, goes silent, or explodes. When you try to have genuine adult conversations, then accuses you of being too intense or too sensitive. Someone who loudly proclaims they're always the one trying, while somehow, miraculously, you're always the one apologising for everything. They may never scream at you, they may never physically strike you, but the psychological damage runs just as deep, if not infinitely deeper, because it systematically convinces you that your feelings are the problem, not the toxic dynamic they are creating. And the only way out of this hellish labyrinth begins with one brutal, undeniable realization. If someone consistently, intentionally makes you feel like you're the villain in your own life, you are not in love. You are in a psychological cage, and you must make the unbreakable decision that you will no longer allow anyone to weaponize your kindness, your empathy, or your decency against you. And the first most critical step to breaking free is reclaiming your absolute right to interpret your own reality, to believe what you saw, to feel what you genuinely feel without shame or guilt, to know that discomfort is not always your fault. And sometimes that profound discomfort is simply the emotional smoke from someone else's deeply manipulative fire. If you're dealing with someone who can cry on command, who brings up their past trauma the precise moment they are confronted, who accuses you of being ungrateful for all they've done, whenever you express a simple, healthy boundary, then you are not in a relationship. You are trapped in a performance, and you are merely a supporting actor in someone else's twisted narrative, where they always need to be the hero or the victim, never ever the villain. And what makes this betrayal even harder to stomach is that manipulative people often aren't evil in the cartoon sense. They are often deeply damaged, profoundly wounded, incredibly clever, and yes, sometimes even charmingly charismatic. But their charm is their mask, their most potent weapon. And the very moment you stop playing your designated role, the moment you begin to assert yourself, they panic, they lash out, they accuse, they plead, they make grandiose promises to change, to be better. And that, my friend, is precisely when you must stay absolutely, unshakably centred, because the moment you begin to pull away, to reclaim your power, is when the manipulation intensifies, not out of love, but out of desperate clinging fear. Fear of losing control over someone they've worked so tirelessly to condition. And it's in this precise moment that most men fail. Not because they're weak, but because they've been taught a fundamental lie that strength means staying, means fighting relentlessly for, love means sacrificing their entire peace for a toxic connection. But the truth, the raw, empowering truth, is that true strength is knowing precisely when to walk away from a situation that is slowly, agonizingly killing your spirit. Strength is setting boundaries that require no explanation, no justification. Strength is choosing profound peace over manufactured chaos, crystal clarity over debilitating confusion, and sacred solitude over soul-destroying manipulation. If you desire to develop this kind of unyielding strength, you must begin with radical self-awareness. Write down how you feel after every major interaction with that person. Look for undeniable patterns, not isolated events. Notice how many times you've had to apologize for simply expressing yourself, how many times your valid feelings were dismissed, invalidated, or viciously flipped back onto you. And then ask yourself this with brutal honesty. Would you want someone you deeply care about, your son, your brother, your best friend, to be treated this way? And if the answer deep down is a resounding no, then why, for the love of God, do you accept it for yourself? And the second step is emotional detachment. Not coldness, not indifference, but profound clarity. The ability to feel love, compassion, but still choose necessary distance. The ability to care deeply without allowing that care to override your intrinsic sense of dignity, your self-worth. Because manipulators actively feed off your empathy, your guilt, your inherent desire to be the good guy. And you must starve that toxic dynamic by decisively removing the fuel, by responding with calm truth, with unyielding integrity, instead of futile emotional justification or desperate pleas for understanding. And yes, they will accuse you of being heartless, of changing, of not being who you used to be. But that, my friend, is precisely the point. You are not. You have grown. You have evolved. And anyone who needs you to stay small, confused, and emotionally vulnerable to control you does not truly love you. They love the distorted, controlled version of you they can manipulate. And if you truly want to heal from the deep scars of emotional manipulation, you have to go far deeper than just cutting external ties. You must cut the internal wiring that made you susceptible to it in the first place, which means revisiting where you learned to associate love with walking on eggshells, where you began believing that being misunderstood, invalidated, was just part of the deal in a relationship. And the third ultimate step is building an impenetrable emotional fortress. Not walls that keep genuine love out, but unyielding standards that keep manipulation from ever getting in again. And you achieve that by meticulously surrounding yourself with people who hold sacred space for your truth, who don't need you to shrink for them, to feel strong, who challenge you constructively without belittling you, who apologise genuinely when they're wrong without needing to be begged or coerced. And that fundamentally starts with how you treat yourself. Do you grant yourself the profound permission to feel, to pause, to walk away? Or do you bully yourself into staying in situations that systematically hurt you because you mistakenly believe endurance is a virtue? And the brutal truth is, endurance is only a virtue when the pain serves a higher purpose, when it leads to growth or a noble cause. But enduring manipulation only serves the manipulator, fueling their control. If you have ever left a conversation more confused than when it started, more ashamed, more depleted than when you walked in, that is your undeniable signal not to try harder, not to explain more clearly, but to exit gracefully and fiercely protect the version of you that still believes in truth. Because no one, absolutely no one, has the right to twist your reality in the sacred name of love. And the final non-negotiable piece of advice is this: When someone makes you feel bad for having legitimate needs, that is manipulation. When they aggressively change the subject every single time accountability is mentioned, that is manipulation. When they only show affection or kindness after you have completely broken down, after you've reached your limit, that is manipulation. And when they turn every single disagreement into a referendum on your character, a personal attack designed to make you question yourself, that is manipulation. And you do not fix that by loving them harder. You fix that by loving yourself enough to walk away and systematically rebuild your life around people who do not need to confuse you, to drain you, or to twist your reality to keep you close. And once you've done that, once you've decisively broken the cycle, you will never ever fall for it again, because you will finally know what genuine peace feels like. And once a man knows true peace, he never ever chases chaos dressed as love again. Conclusion: the rebirth of the unbreakable man. If you have made it to this exact point, you are not just someone who merely watched a video or listened to a speech. You are a man who is actively waking up, who is beginning to see clearly, who is finally allowing himself to feel everything in his gut that he has ignored for far too long. And I want you to sit with this profound truth, internalize it. You were not weak for trusting. You were not stupid for staying. You were not blind for believing. It means you had a heart. It means you were loyal. It means you loved fully with every fibre of your being. Now it means you are wise enough to never allow yourself to be betrayed the same way ever again. And that evolution, that profound transformation, is the most powerful revenge you will ever wield. Not the kind that is loud or vengeful or steeped in anger, but the kind that meticulously builds a life so solid, so peaceful, so deeply grounded in unwavering truth that manipulation, deception, and disloyalty cannot even survive in your presence. They simply wither and die. And I know you have been through more than you talk about. I know you have stayed silent about betrayals that utterly shattered you, that left you feeling like a hollow shell because you were wrongly told that real men don't talk about pain. But those destructive lies stop here right now with us, because true healing begins when you stop protecting the people who broke you and start with fierce devotion, protecting the version of you that unequivocally deserves better. And if you are ready to reclaim your peace, to fiercely protect your spirit, and to rebuild your confidence, not from ego, but from crystalline clarity, I want you to comment right now. Type it, claim it, let it be the definitive line in the sand where your old broken self ends and your new unshakable life begins. Just type, never again. Because if you're here listening to these words, I know you are not like most men. I know you're actively searching for something real, something profound, and something that resonates with your core truth. And that's exactly what this space is about. That's precisely why this channel exists. Not for fleeting entertainment, but for radical transformation. Not just for superficial information, but for the cultivation of unyielding inner power. And if anything in this speech resonated with you, if even one sentence shook something loose in your chest, or made you feel seen in a way that no one else ever has before, then do not just walk away with that feeling. Act on it. Protect this sacred space by supporting it. Because when you like this video, when you drop a comment, when you share it with someone else who desperately needs to hear these truths, you're not just helping me. You're helping every single man out there who is still stuck, still silent, still mistakenly believing he's utterly alone in his pain. And you are proving that there is a powerful community of men who are no longer interested in comfortable lies, but are fiercely committed to uncomfortable truths. Men who want to grow, to evolve, to lead with integrity, to love with discernment, to build with unwavering loyalty, and to walk in their power with absolute clarity. And if that's you, then hit that subscribe button right now. Not because I said so, but because every single time you do, you help make these vital insights accessible to the men who need them most, the ones who are still healing, still questioning, still becoming. And maybe today you were that man seeking guidance. But tomorrow you will be the one who confidently leads others out of that confusion and into their profound purpose. And that, my friends, is what this mission is about. Real conversations, real transformation, and a world where strong men rise again, one undeniable truth at a time.